having the chance to talk to you guys with Porsche Classic and you as a professional for restoring cars and stuff like that. Cam and Ray, I'm very happy, very honored to be with you guys.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to do this. We really appreciate it. I was telling the story earlier about how we had the conversation last week, Cam and I did on the live stream, about we chose 3 Le Mans 24-hour wins that were special to us to talk about, and 1998 came up because for both of us, it's kind of when we really started professionally with Porsche, and I remember the beauty of that GT1 98 car. And then, of course, after the live stream was over, I posted the thank you to everybody that watched, and you liked and followed the account as a result. We had a chance to start a conversation, which I think is really cool when social media becomes social like that, and you actually get to meet somebody like yourself who I might otherwise not have the chance to meet. And so thank you for accepting our invitation to come on and have this hangout with us and yeah, talk a little bit more about this most incredible experience around this particular Porsche, and of course your amazing career.
Thank you, Ray. No, it's Ray and Cam. I mean, for me, it's very also important, especially nowadays. We know with what's going on here in the world, and it's so important. And at the same time, mentally is a very important thing that we get connected not only with things they give us, like the TV. The Netflix, all these things, but also being entertainment and doing things like that is very important for me as well. I mean, I'm very lucky here in my family cottage house. I have this chance to have a nice garden. I have the garage there. I can also do my gym. I have a gym room, so it's all nice. But I think the contact is important. So this is also why I contacted you. I mean, I was happy to have this contact with you, Ray, because we are talking about something we love.
Yes.
And Porsche is a family for us. So I'm very happy to be a little bit part of this family, but I'm very honored to follow you guys. And I had the chance to follow the last hour with you, and it was really nice. So I learned a lot of things for the classics cars, and I'm not so much at your level, guys, but I can drive fast. That's a good thing.
We know that. Yeah, that's right. In fact, your career, when I took a look at your CV, I mean, your time with Porsche in the early 2000s, leading up, of course, the 98 Le Mans win, a lot of activity. But my gosh, you've been involved with so many manufacturers and so involved in racing and the development of cars. I mean, it's really just fascinating. I look forward to our conversation here to learn more about that.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say, Porsche is my family. I mean, I spent 10 years as a works driver for them, but I think I was dreaming about Porsche a lot earlier. For us in France, especially, we have a special connection with the 24 Hours of Le Mans. First, you have to understand that in the 80s or in the 70s, it was live 24 hours on French TV, French national TV. So as a kid, I grew up with Le Mans.
Yeah.
And I was keeping my finger crossed over the night that when I wake up in the morning, age of 10 or 11, I could see this 962 Porsche still leading the race. And all my hero was these 2 drivers who were doing Le Mans with only 2 drivers. And that's how we grew up in France. I mean, of course, you had the Monte Carlo Rally, you had the Formula One Grand Prix, but it was not like we had all this Formula One season, that you have to look at this. And I also have to admit, I was a big fan with the Formula One, especially with the Senna era, the Senna Prost battle. Yeah. But as a kid, I really grew up with Le Mans. And for us, it's really special when you have the chance to win Le Mans. And we are, I think, only 13 French drivers, originally born in France, having won Le Mans. So it's special for us. And to do it with Porsche is like winning Formula One with Ferrari. It's something which it doesn't really belongs to you anymore. It belongs to the brand. It belongs to the history of the Porsche. And we are a little bit part of this history. But thanks to that, I get the connection much longer than only 10 years as a works driver, because I always felt like I was close to them. And eventually, a couple of years ago, they asked me to become a Porsche World Ambassador. And I'm still active, I'm still racing. But for me, it's an honor to be part of this classic Porsche. And as one of the youngest Porsche classic driver. I'm very happy and I'm very enthusiastic every time they call me to a drive. Whatever is the car, the 917, the Moby Dick Porsche. I've been driving in the last 3 years all my iconic cars as a kid, so I'm very happy.
Amazing.
Stéphane, I think I can speak for Ray and say what an honor it is to meet you over the internet and having this forum with you. You're one of my favorite drivers because you drive with such passion and style, and it kind of harkens back to an old era of how drivers used to drive race cars. But for someone who's won Spa, someone who's won the 24-hour Le Mans and 12 hours of Sebring, can you take us back, and for our viewers, to like 1998, how old you were and what it was like to be contracted with Porsche? Can you just walk us through what was happening in your life in 1998 and those steps of joining Porsche and the works effort to race at Le Mans?
Yeah, thanks, Cam, for your very kind words. I'm, how I can say that? I think it's all about destiny. I'm very fortunate to have been driving in this era for Porsche, I have to say. But at the time also, it was a bit more easier. I mean, we could get to a factory drive quite soon. For me, it's all depending to what you do at the beginning. I had some advice from Bob Volek. My first teammate was Bob Volek back to 95. So it was 3 years before I actually won Le Mans with Allan, McNish and Laurent Aïello. But it took me less than a year to become a works driver for them. And Bob was really the one who helped me. He gave me 3 things to do. To go great. Fast, really fast, and not crashing. And even, I tell you one thing, even after winning Le Mans, I was still in this free tempo, this free modo. You had to do this. But they gave us the chance, And of course, I learned a lot. And I have to say my sister contributed to my first drive because I was at the time driving for another German brands in French touring car. I was leading the French championship at the time.
Wow. When
they came to me, they said, okay, but we have to ask you to pay the insurance or stuff like that. And Cathy, my sister, they moved to Canada. They are based in Vancouver right now. She said, okay, I'm going to pay for the insurance cost because you are running a bit out of money, because I was always investing the money I was gaining to some more testing, some more time track and stuff like that. And of course, she never wanted to have the money back because without this first race, it was, so my first ever race in endurance was in a Porsche, and I stayed with them until 2005.
Wow.
And it was Montlhéry 1,000 kilometers with Conrad Motorsport and with Bob Volek. And guess what? It was really hard. I mean, we're going to talk about some other guys, but I need to, if you don't mind, to be a bit long with Bob, but I need to talk about Bob because Bob was not only a legend at the time at Porsche, he was a 4 times Daytona 24 hours winner.
Yeah.
He was a works driver for so many years. And he was also capable to give us advice like that if he liked you. And I learned a lot from him. And 2 weeks after, they were this race in Understop, Sweden. And he said, okay, I want this little Frenchman with me, Franz Conrad. Please give him a call and pay him the ticket. This is how we started, And so come back to Le Mans. We were, I think, the second youngest Le Mans winner at that time in 98.
Wow.
And for me, it was my second year's contract with Porsche for Le Mans. So we did the Le Mans with Porsche the year before, also with Allan. It was still the steel chassis, and it was the first carbon chassis. But I have to say, if you are talking about this, and I was listening to your comments, guys, it's also because of the beauty of the car. It's also because of Norbert Singer. At the time, it was the 16th win of Norbert Singer, either as an engineer, as a young engineer, or as a coordinator with, for example, with Jost or with Porsche Doer. But he actually was his 16th win. Believe it or not. And for me, of course, you can talk about the French guys, how it is for us to win Le Mans, to be the second youngest winner of Le Mans. I was 28 by the time, but the the driver lineup was the second youngest Le Mans winner. It's something, of course, I have it, and we can talk hours about it, but I prefer to talk about the others. And for me, after Beauvolec, which teach me how to drive, and this free modo I was telling you, then come Norbert Singer in my mind. So he not only designed, I saw, Ray, you had the little dinky toys. I have the slightly bigger one here.
Yeah.
That's the 1.8 scales.
Wow.
And I have some other present for you later on. But anyway, come back to Bob was one thing, but Norbert, he designed this car by hand. So it's the last Le Mans winner car made by the drawing of the designer, not by the computer, which designed which type of aero platform you need to go fast. So this is also, because in 99, it was already a car like that. So it's actually the last ever car which I've been designing and drawing by a man, which have won Le Mans.
Yeah. Based on a road going car.
Right.
In essence.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
But
I mean,
all the line, when he decide this line,
uh-huh.
I was there at the factory. So for me, I was really also into the engine department because it was very exclusive to be able to develop such a lot of horsepower. About the horsepower, I have a little present. Do you want one or not? do you want to listen to the car? Do you remember the sound of the car when you are there?
Oh, it's one of the best sounds.
Are you sure? Ray, you want to listen as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Oh, my God.
There it is.
Oh,
Love the flutter. Love the flutter.
yeah.
That's a lap in Le Mans.
I mean, that's like, I got goosebumps right now, Ray. I don't know how you feel, but like, this is like one of the coolest things I've been a part of. Like,
it's
this
a
is
little
so
present
cool.
for you guys. I'm so happy to be with you talking about this win.
Oh,
We
thank
were
you.
talking about Norbert Singer. I have one more thing I would like to say about Norbert, if
Please.
you don't mind.
You got all the time in the world. This is why we're here, Stéphane. So,
So
you are the
come
force,
back
sir.
to Norbert. The guy won 16 times Le Mans. He was my race engineer. We became world champion 2002 and world champion 2003 in FIA GT. So he was at the time already over 60, but he wanted still to engineer the car. So we were doing it, but he had something in mind, which I didn't know at the beginning. He never won Spa. As an engineer or as a designer of the car, he never won Spa because Spa for a long time, the Spa 24 hours, was into the touring cars competition. It was not into GT cars. And the second year we've been together as a race engineer with Marc Lieb. Romain Dumas was joining us for Spa, but it was Marc Lieb and myself. We were leading the championship at the time. And he came and he was a bit David against Goliath. I'm sure you heard about this story, but it was a GT2 car which have won the race overall against the GT1 car, which was the Lister, the Jaguar, the Corvette, the Viper, all these cars. We beat them because it was a very typical Belgium condition. It was
and that was a big deal because Corvette GM was throwing a lot of money in their program, and Dodge was with the Viper program.
Yeah, and Viper was there with Oreca and with many guys, and it was complicated to beat them, I have to say. We won. But the year before, we finished third overall on a complete dry race. So Norbert had something in mind, and we had this story. It's on the Norbert book that he asked me in the middle of the night to save fuel because they had a period that they had to repair the barrier. One car crashed into the barrier and they had to change the barriers, and we knew it was going to be long. And he asked me, okay, Steph, I don't want to know, but I don't want to see you back until this is done. And then it was the H gearbox, and I decided, and it's a clear story. I think I invite you to buy this book, to the Norbert Simper book. And basically, I was going up to Les Combes, which is a very uphill section of the circuit, with quite a reasonable speed, but not too much close to the car in front of me. We were leading the race overall, but of course, the safety car was putting me in a position that there were cars in front of me. And then I was doing a big acceleration in fourth gear, engine off, neutral. But I had also to save the battery. So I had to switch off the light. I also had to save the starter. So I had to start with pressing the clutch down, put the fifth gear, releasing the clutch, restarting the engine and stuff like that.
Wow.
And we could do almost 3 hours with a fuel tank.
Wow.
Because the mandatory time at Le Mans is 4 hours in a row for a driver, but at Spa it's 3 hours. It's a bit more demanding. And I did 2 hours 57 with the same amount of fuel. All these 2 hours 57 behind the safety car. But that means we were extending one more lap ahead of the big GT1 cars.
You're literally bump starting the car at speed.
Yeah, everything was crazy. But at the same time, they changed the rules after because they had to ask to have a minimum distance with the cars in front of you. It's all because, not of me, but because of what happened at that race. I mean, at least in Europe, I don't know in the US. And what I wanted to say about Norbert, it's for me, what I remember is not that we won one of the most exciting races, but we could see that Norbert was falling in tears at the end of the race. He was actually crying because he realized that he maybe have won 16 times Le Mans, but it was his first ever and the last win he had at Spa 24 Hours, which was a very important win for him.
Bravo.
So yeah, this is Norbert, and he's still a good friend. Every year we call him for Christmas, and he's I mean, it's a family, you know, they are my friends. So it's not like I had the chance and I've been honored to win and to race with them. Let's say to race and to win with them, but I also made a good friends for the rest of my life.
That's wonderful. We you know, once a member of the Porsche family, always a member of the family, and that
exactly right.
You're just proving that with what you're saying, and this is what's so wonderful, isn't it? When we get the opportunity to go to Rennsport, whenever that happens, to have the opportunity to go there and be among everybody like that, it really is a reunion.
Yes, I mean, for us to be part of this Porsche ambassador group, I have to say this is as important for me as all the modern races I'm doing still now, and I'm also doing some coaching. We did Le Mans. I did my first Le Mans on the other side. I was driving. Oh, look at that! I was working for Patrick Dempsey team in Dempsey Proton, and I was coaching one completely rookie driver lineup. So the only car with 3 rookies last year was a Porsche, and I was in charge of this car. It's a family from Monaco, the Pret family, father and son. So it was a very nice story. Wow. And I spent the 24 hours completely awake, following the cars. I had some very nice talk about the Le Mans passion from Patrick Dempsey, which is a really, really enthusiastic fan, not only about the Brown, but also about the race, Le Mans 24 race. And I was very happy to be on the other side. And I'm learning, and I also can feel that even if I'm not racing in a Porsche, but I'm doing classic events or I'm doing coaching with a Porsche, you're still part of the Porsche family. And that's very, very important for me. And this is where I belong.
I think, you know, Stéphane, you're such a gentleman in so many ways, but this segues into what we were talking about on Instagram Live today about mentors. And you're talking about Bob Wallach and Norbert Singer, and they're mentors for you in your career. It gives me, I'm sure Ray and it's talking for our audience who's going to watch this eventually, it's to hear these stories that you have worked with some of the most legendary personalities of motorsports is surreal. When you were there present, did you realize that you were a part of history? I mean, was that part of your thought process, or were you just so busy getting on with the job?
Yes, it is. It is in a way, because at the end, you are very humble. You are driving to have a Porsche winning. That's the only target. You don't think as a driver. You don't think as a one person. You don't think as a 3 drivers lineup. You think that we all have to do one thing. It's to win Le Mans for Porsche, or to win a championship for Porsche, which I had a chance as well to do it in sprint series like the Porsche Supercup and stuff like that. But at the end, when you are against so many tough competitors like German cuisine, like Mercedes, BMW, or the Americans with Panos. I mean, Don Panos was a very strong competitors as well, I have to say. The Panos cars, they were crazy fast. Cadillac later on and all these cars. You have to beat them because you are part of the Porsche legend. You are not at all at the front. They will never remember our names, but they will remember that Porsche is the #1 winner in Le Mans. And it's an honor. And honestly, this is the best thing I've been doing in my life. It's to be part of such a family, such a legend family. And don't forget, in 1998, it was the 50 years anniversary. And Dr. Porsche was there with us on the podium. He was, Wolfgang was there sharing the trophy with us. We were looking at him and say, wow, we do a 1-2 with a car, which is the first carbon car for them on the 50 years anniversary, and he's there. And believe it or not, but last year I was driving Felix and Ferdinand, their son, so the grandson of Mr. Porsche. And I was driving them around Le Mans on some hot laps. And for me, I was not talking about how lucky I am. I was talking about their dad, who was sharing the passion. And he was clearly the reason why we have to drive like crazy, like super fast and doing no mistakes, because this guy at the end is part of a legend in motorsport. We are all a little bit part of this legend, but he's, it was special for us. And I'm a bit emotional. Sorry, guys. I lost my English at the time, but it was special for us.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it makes me think almost when you talk about that feeling of family, and you go back to the beginning of your career with open wheel Formula 3. You know, you're basically one driver in one car in a sprint race, and if you mess up, then you're disappointed for yourself. But when you're sharing a car over 24 hours with two other drivers representing a team like Porsche on the 50th anniversary,
you can't.
Let's not forget. Just months before this, we lost Ferry Porsche. So I can only imagine the pressure that you had to be feeling as a driver with such responsibility.
Yeah, but you don't feel the pressure. You feel the passion of everybody, from the mechanics to the people who are doing the catering to the engineer. It is giving you power. For me, this is what I like with the pressure. I mean, when you have the chance to fight at this level, you don't sleep. You feel super high. You want to continue. You want to achieve it, but you do it not for you. You do it for Porsche. As simple as that.
I mean, this is incredible. I have so many goosebumps, Stéphane. The stories are amazing. Can you maybe fill us in what it was like to work with your co-drivers? Did you have better chemistry with one than maybe another?
It's first of all, we knew each other very well. This is why the magazine Autosport, they call us the Three Amigos, because we've been doing also this thanks to Porsche. For me, they gave me the chance to do it and to continue to do it with them at Audi, because I was still a Porsche Works driver, but they gave me the chance to go for Le Mans and Sebring with the Audi, and it was again the same driver lineup. So basically, Dr. Ulrich, I did the 99 with Stefan Johansson.
That's right.
But then I switched back to let's say the driver lineup, which we normally do. I felt very close to Laurent before because we were partner at Peugeot in touring cars. We did go-kart together at the age of 14, 15, 16, stuff like that. So this is why. But at the same time, I have a very special story that only Allan, myself, and my families, my relatives know. And I'm going to tell you something very, very special. When I was 14, I had a month exchange with a Scottish family, in Glasgow.
Wow.
In order to improve my English. As you can see, it's not ideal still now, but I was doing this.
I'm impressed, actually.
At the age of 14. And believe it or not, my family, they were a lot into music. and I was into motorsport. I was into go-kart, and I said, "Oh, please, please, there is a race in Knockhill. Sorry, I have to pronounce it right.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that race." And eventually, they gave me the chance to. They were nice to me, and they said, "Okay, Sunday we go there." And I didn't talk, but I saw Allan. I saw David Coulthard as well. They were there racing at the same age as me.
Wow.
So they were doing this cadetti category, the very young category. And that's a story that I said to Allan, of course, when we started to work together in 97. But Allan and myself, we come back to your question, Cam. We have a special connection. We have a record in endurance, which is not a record of number of wins or stuff like that, but we've been racing 4 years together, 2 years at Porsche and 2 years at Audi, over 20 races. And we have a record. We always finish on the podium overall.
Wow.
And never third. So only first or second.
That's amazing.
So sometimes we're only 2 drivers. Like,
right.
For example, the Le Mans European Series, it's only 2 drivers.
Right.
Sometimes we are 3 drivers, always with Laurent Aïello. But we never finished third. We never finished fourth. We never have a breakdown or something like that. And that last year was 2005. It was our German cousin with an open car, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
With a name coming from a French car, French car, the R8. We call it R8 from the R8 Gordini. So, of course, it's an Audi. And we were there. And at the time, it was clear that in 2005, the Le Mans ACO didn't want to have an Audi winning. They really wanted to have another car, which was the French Pescarolo car.
No, the FI were the French car to win. The FI were the French car to win.
Whatever it was, Turkey, Silverstone, Nürburgring, all these circuits. Every weekend we arrive and we say, okay, this weekend we're gonna finish third, maybe, or fourth, or maybe we're gonna not even be able to fight for a top 10. You know,
right?
Every single race we did first or second.
That's
so that's how we are with Allan. This is why we are very close. And of course, because we are in Monaco, we see each other very, very soon. And they are both my friends. You know, they call us the Three Amigos, not for nothing. You know, we are really good friends. And but we were there as a lieutenant to drive for the Porsche. You know, we wanted so much to have a good result that we gave our best. That particular week, we didn't think we're gonna win the race. We just thought that we have to do everything in order to catch a win, if we can catch a win. But the crazy story about this car is that it's won only one race, but the most important one.
Yep. And what a story that is.
It really is. It really is. I mean, when you drove that car for the first time, this was the first carbon tub car, and with the experience from 97 to 98, can you give us a little bit of a feeling of what it's like to compare the GT1 cars and how different the 98 was because of its carbon construction?
First of all, the chassis gave us confidence also in terms of safety. I think it was also very important for Porsche, because these cars at the times, they were every year not 1 or 2 seconds faster, but every year 4, 5, 6 seconds faster. So they had to do something for safety. Plus the amount of aero was crazy. I mean, it's the best place to talk about it is Porsche Corner. We don't call it Porsche Corner not only because they gave the name, but also it's clearly a sequence of corners that really suits our car. And this amount of downforce was fantastic. It was really, really important to feel that everything was more extreme. But our competitors, they were also doing crazy good job. So we knew it was going tough, and we were there, but we had to go for 100%. And what Norbert Singer, Roland Kussmaul, all the board of Herbert Anfahrer decide is to go with a 100% reliable car that drivers they request us to use 120% of what we were capable to do, because the car will never break down. The car will be maybe not the fastest one. They even changed let's say I don't know if you know this story, but we've been doing dog box in qualify,
right,
with cable. On Friday night, we swapped to a synchro gearbox with bar.
That's crazy.
We destroyed our hands. We destroyed our also wish, because I tell you, on Saturday morning in the warm-up, we were 3 seconds slower just because of the gears.
Right.
So this is how Le Mans is crazy, you know, not 1 second slower, 3 seconds.
Wow.
I don't know if you know the story, but that was a very important decision.
Yeah.
They knew that all the suppliers and all what they were doing in terms of simulation, it will never last 24 hours. But I'll give you also one more details about how Porsche it is with Le Mans. And these details, I think not so many people, they are aware about it, but the combine of synchro gearbox and bar in that particular car never drove before, not even a check down.
That's crazy.
They did it on the dyno in Weissach. And they said, on the dyno, we can last 40 hours. So we don't even need to test it before. Let's do the championship with the dog box. If we are not 100% sure about our dog box, we have something in the pocket. We have something at Weissach, which will last. But guys, you will have to drive not 110%, but 120% fast.
Wow.
So, of course, come back to what you said, Ray. You feel honored, you have a mission, but they ask us a lot.
Yeah.
This is Porsche. So we were into the car, fighting like crazy, but we knew that we can push this car to the limit, and our competitors, which were, for example, the Toyota car.
Yeah, super fast.
If you push them to the limit, they're going to break down.
Yeah, they had transmission issues.
What we did at 8 o'clock in the morning when we faced this double problem in the garage, and we had to fix the car. Sorry, I'm a bit long. It's like I'm talking about the past and the history.
This is absolutely spellbounding. It's amazing.
So I think today, and especially with what happened this week with you guys, it's nice to talk about this 98 win. So what we did in the morning, we decided to withdraw Laurent, because Laurent was a bit new in this job. You know, he was the first ever attempt to Le Mans for Laurent. He was super fast, doing a fantastic job over the night, but he was starting to get a bit tired. And eventually he spun in Tertre Rouge. No crash, but just spun. And Albert Enfarer said to Allan and myself, guys, you're going to finish the race now. You have to go to the end. We have to catch back the Toyota. We were 1 lap down.
And what
but you don't only have to catch it. You have to force them to make mistakes, because with 1 lap down, normally they don't gonna do mistake. But if you put lap times which are crazy fast, maybe they would doubt, and maybe they would be in the position to push a bit too much. And 2 hours before the end of this race, they break down.
Wow.
This
what a
is
story.
the story of the month for us. So then, of course, you don't realize, you know, I mean, don't forget, 28 years old in the 90s is not like 28 years old in 2010. You know, it's everything's going so fast. So for us, we feel young, but we feel just super happy for Porsche. We don't think it's going to change our life. We are just at the time it's happening. A bunch of kids which are very happy that we made an hold up. We won that race. We give this 16 win of Le Mans for Porsche, which is a very crazy important win because of this 50 years anniversary. Yeah. So we felt proud, extremely proud, not for ourselves. We felt proud to contribute to this Porsche win, which was a very important one. And also all the others, they were there. I mean, not only the border, but people which have been racing for Porsche before. We had some connection with new sponsor like IBM. You know, everything was like, okay, we have to win and we have to do everything which is possible. And it's also been an honor to do it because we were not sure about winning it. We were sure that this car was gonna last. We were sure that they put everybody under pressure to do the job, but it's going to be a crazy fight. And it was a crazy fight.
You know, Stéphane, you are in a pantheon of famous drivers. If you think about, particularly Porsche's had so many great French drivers, but, you know, I think of living legends, Vic Elfert, Hans Hermann, who's still alive, and you're a part of this esteemed group of incredible personalities and legends. It's such an honor to be with you and to hear these stories. It's so important for Porsche and people, the brand and the community, to hear your words and that you were there, that, you know, and you live up to the billing. Like, I'm a total fan.
Thank you. I don't accept it like that. I mean, we just contribute to something and we continue. What I like with Vic, for example, and Hans, and also Jackie X and Derek Bell, when I'm talking to them, thanks to this Porsche Classic, what they said, they are happy that we continue to transmit. Yeah. Not only for the Porsche drivers, but what is important, it's not to keep that, okay, this is my trophy, this is our win or whatever. What is important is to transmit to the others. I've been doing it to Marc Lieb, to Romain Dumas at Porsche, for instance. Yeah. I've been doing it to so many drivers as well since, in the last 10 years.
Right.
Not because I had to, but just because it's how I learned my job, and I don't want to keep it for myself. I don't know how it will be in 20 years. I don't know how the others they will react, because now with Instagram, with all these things. I mean, of course I am on it as well, but it's all about myself. At that time, it was about
team
sharing it.
Yeah,
a team, and you have to share it.
And it's people. Everything is. We were talking about this on the program, Ray and I, today.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to people. You know, a team of people to accomplish great things.
And also, not forget to smile and to realize that we are super happy, because at the end, there is so many guys who love Porsche. There is so many guys who love racing cars, but we are so little to have the chance to be paid to do it, to be professional. And one example is 2 years ago in Monte Carlo Grand Prix Historic Classic. We were there with, thanks to Porsche, we were there. I was driving all historic car, and all of a sudden, Vic Elfert was going for his second go of the day around the circuit with his Monte Carlo winner Porsche, you know, the red Porsche.
Yes.
And there were nobody next to him. I knock on the door and I say, please, Sir Elfert, do you mind if I can join you on the passenger seat?
This is incredible.
He was attacking like crazy. He was sliding. He was attacking. I was enjoying it so much. Like, for me, if people say, okay, you are there, it's your job, what do you remember as the last time you've been around Monaco Grand Prix? I remember Vic Elfert going sideways, attacking through Saint-Devote, around the tunnel, trying to go flat. And he was asking me, you know, he was turning, and he was saying, am I fast enough? Do you think I'm okay? I say, you're super fast. So this is Vic, for example, you know?
You know what?
This is...
That story, it resonates so much, because if you've sat next to Vic Elfert, and Ray has as well, and you watch his feet,
fast, super fast.
Super fast. It's a dance. He's playing on the pedals. It's amazing. It's so good.
Isn't it?
Yeah. What's that?
No, I was asking Ray, because for me it was a shock. Also the steering correction he was doing, because Monaco is, you are in between the barrier, and you know it's not easy.
I can imagine.
And then I was able to talk about it with people from Porsche Museum and from the mechanics, and they were laughing because they know it. Because every time they make the check down of the car, Vic wants to drive the car. He wants to go across Germany and going and doing this, let's say, hot laps to be sure that all the synchro of the gearbox are okay, because he wants to drive the car fast. He just doesn't want to drive the car.
You know, he often at Le Mans, in many of the endurance races for Porsche, Von Honstein in motorsports often tasked his driving, whatever car he was in, he was always the rabbit. You know, he was always put in a position of apply the pressure to the competition because he was so fast. And he often got charged with that responsibility.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, that was a little story, but for me, it's also this story which are making us a family. You know, it's happened so many times in the last years since I joined the Porsche Ambassador Group. But I'm very honored every time they call me, and we are always not only talking about the cars, but also about the story of these guys. And for me, they are, sorry, I would not say guys, I would say legends. They are really part of what I'm calling the true spirit of the motorsports company. You know, we are a family. Our life is racing, but we are like that now because they were there before. And we learned a lot from them. Like I'm still want to continue to teach to the others, you know. And one day I will stop racing these modern cars, and I will still be doing these classic cars. It will appear quicker than I'm thinking, because as Ray said, I turned 50 this year. But for me, it's important also that these guys, which are over 70 or 80, they are still there, and they are still telling us these stories, like Hans Hermann. I mean, when you are with the Hans Hermann, how cool is it? We talk about Le Mans, but he's here, you know, he's with us, and we are lucky enough to be listening to him. And believe it or not, but I've been driving the 917 for the first time last year, the Golf Porsche. The size of the roll cage is like that. It's super fast. The flat 12 is the best sound in the world. Sorry for the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, but a flat 12, you can't do better than a flat 12.
No. You know, I think Ray can attest to when you're around Hans Hermann and what he accomplished as a driver. And what you're talking about is you are the next legacy of these drivers, that these stories are inspirational. It's the triumph of the human spirit that we're all passionate about, you know, and you are that next generation of storyteller that we can get these goosebump stories. It's very inspiring.
100%. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you, guys.
Absolutely right. And, you know, I watched a video of you at Spa in the Moby Dick 935, and it really looked like that car was a real handful. You know, this was the long aerodynamic bodywork with the flat six turbocharged, I imagine a lot of lag. That looked like you had your hands full with that classic racing.
No, the lag is just another chapter of my what I learned in my job. I had a lag, of course, when we were in the 90s going to Daytona with a Porsche GT1. Of course, also with the 993 and the 996, we always had turbo car with a lot of lag, but this is nothing to compare with. This car, for people who know Spa, if you have the bus stop chicane, so the bus stop chicane, basically you enter by the right, you exit by the left, and you have a beautiful start and finish line in front of you. If you accelerate in the left corner, the lag is that late that everybody is passing you. So you have basically to finish everything, staying with still straight, but braking on the gas, doing the right, and eventually in the left, up, the boost is pushing you. This is like not a second, it's like a couple of seconds delay. Yeah. And also, the car is so powerful that, again, for people, I'm sorry, we are here in the US and talking about a racetrack in Europe, but for people who knows or who has the chance to go into to see Spa, there is a section called Blanchimont left-hand corner. It's two left-hand corner. The first one is not a corner. The second one is a corner, and it's flat. In that days, it's flat in a sports car, it's flat in a GT car. The first one, I never noticed it was a corner until I drove Moby Dick. And I never took it flat. First, because you have the respect of the car. Then the second is that the car is sat back so much, and the amount of power is crazy that you get scared and you have to back off, because you don't even, you can see the sky, but you don't anymore anyway see the line. You know, it's crazy, and these kind of cars are crazy. So what is nice with Porsche is sometimes, not always, but sometimes we can also race these cars. But of course, not the one which I've been doing Le Mans, and you know that, Cam, some other cars, and with the same, exactly the same configuration, the same car, not the same number of chassis. But I've been driving Moby Dick, and I was still thinking, I want to go fast. There is things I don't have a clue how to do it. And I don't want to make a mistake, because you are driving a car which it is also part of the legend. It's coming from a museum. You have to respect the car, and you have to be also aware that there is cars around you, and you have no way.
Are you saying you don't want to be the Porsche ambassador that wrecks at Spa and Moby Dick?
Exactly.
No, it's amazing because anyone who's driven Spa or been to Spa, of course, watching Formula One races at Spa, but until you've driven Spa, it's hard to appreciate how technical and fast that track is. It's really a dangerous track.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can win Le Mans with 250 k's average speed, which is really fast for us. And in the modern era, it's what we are doing now in Le Mans. And that's what we were doing. I mean, the year we won with a slightly slower average speed, because it was raining quite a lot over the night. But Spa, first of all, when we are doing Spa in the GT, and I've been doing it so many times with the Porsche, it's only one category. It's only the same category. So every time you catch a car, it's even if it's a gentleman driver 4 laps down or 20 laps down, is going to end up at the end of the straight line the same speed as you, which is close to 300 or 290. And thanks to the ABS, is going to brake at the same place as you. So every time is a challenge. You know, in Le Mans, even now, because I was coaching last year Le Mans, and my last time in Le Mans was 9 years ago, you know that you have this speed difference between the categories, which makes, let's say, the traffic life a bit easier. In Spa 24 hours, it's the hardest one. So the most beautiful 24-hour race is in Le Mans for me. The hardest one is Spa, and the most dangerous one is Nürburgring. And the prestigious one is Daytona, especially when we are talking about Porsche.
No,
I think Daytona is the prestige. For me, I think my best result is second overall with Romain Dumas in the Daytona 24 hours. I wanted to win this race so much, but never happened. But it's also because of the prestige, because of the names, because of the fact that you guys in your country, you are very good to share the connection between NASCAR drivers, Formula One drivers, endurance drivers, IndyCar drivers, things we don't really, I mean, we were doing it in the 70s, in the 80s as well. I remember Manfred Winkelhock, Stefan Beloff, all these guys, they were, even Michael Schumacher, for example, they were going to Le Mans. But now it's a bit more complicated, you know? So in Daytona, it's always been open. It's always a race because of the prestige that everybody wants to do it.
It's a little bit of an international race of champions in its own, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also on the circuit I like a lot. I mean, this banking is really nice. First time in Daytona was 95, and on the 911 GT1 Turbo Evo, I reached 328 k's top speed. I don't know how it is in my, sorry guys, but it was also something special. And also I remember one thing which is always a matter to explain the legendary 911 Porsche. It's my first rain practice. we have this week in Daytona, but it's a very long week. And in one of those sessions, we had quite a lot of rain, and I was on my first attempt to Daytona. I was surprised that why I'm so high on the list, why the others are going so slow. But basically, I was the only one flat out on the banking with thanks to the engine at the back of the car in the trunk. And all the others, they were aquaplaning a lot, and we were not.
Yeah.
So that's the characteristic of the 911 Porsche. And of course, this is also part of the Porsche history in Daytona 24 Hours.
That's fabulous. Yeah, there's so much great history with it. And you, again, like Cam said, you've been such a big part of it. I know we're coming up on the almost the 1 hour mark that you'd set aside for us, and we appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, if I may, one last sort of mentor relationship question, because again, when I posted on Instagram a copy of my weekend reading material, this book by Paul Frere, you had made a comment.
What we do, look what we do together at the same time.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not the same. So let's share I've got a very nice dedicace from Paul.
Yes.
He's also a mentor. Hey, you're absolutely right. For me, it's important. You are a journalist. You understand everything you are passionate about the brand. You are passionate about the cars. I think our life are around motorsport. I am surrounded by motorsport since my chill out. I was a kid. My dad was a racing car driver. And Paul Frere is actually, how I can say that, he's also a mentor, but he's also, for me, a driver and a journalist I admire a lot. Mainly because he was 80 years old or something, like 85.
Right.
And in the middle of the night, you are in Le Mans, you go out of your stint, you put out the helmet, and the first one which is coming to have your last impression about how is the track and how damp is the track, if it's a raining situation, for example, it was Paul Frere.
Wow.
His entire life was around cars and motorbikes as well, because he was driving motorbikes very, very fast. But his love for Le Mans, his love for endurance, his love for the Porsche family, it was really something special. And he was there in the back of the garage when we won Le Mans. He was there my first time I did Le Mans as well with Audi. And we had connection thanks to good friends. And he was also living not that far. He was living maybe 20 km away from the house I am now. And I had the chance to go next to him in the old 964. Things like that. Yeah, it's special. It's a very important part of my life. I've been learning a lot also on the technical part. I mean, believe it or not, but I was learning this afternoon with you guys. I mean, this afternoon for me, when I was listening to you about all these comments with the technical part of the car, and Paul was actually the one who could make the complete story of it. He was a Le Mans winner, a Formula One driver, a perfect journalist, and he knew everything about every single part in a race car. He was capable to describe you the engine, how it is built, the chassis, how it is built, and at the same time going 100% flat out on a race car. He's somebody that forced my admiration. I have a lot of portraits of him. I have a lot of photos. Everything is important for me when I am talking to Paul Frere, because it's not always in a sport that you have somebody so complete. Any kind of sport.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, to your words, what you just described is so. He was a Renaissance man, is a Renaissance man, and it's the most compelling thing about the human condition are these stories of triumph, of design, engineering, and really vesting yourself into knowledge. And he antithesis all of that in so many ways. And we are the recipients of all that knowledge and the book he wrote. So,
no doubt about it.
And he was also capable to make the link between the classic and the modern. He knew everything about which car we were driving the particular day of, let's say, Le Mans year we were doing, but also he was able to switch and talk about a classic car from the 70s or the 60s or the 50s, and capable to describe why they choose this engine, why they choose this seat position, for example, or things like that. He was crazy good for us. I mean, he was really teaching us a lot.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, we're coming up to the hour limit. This has been one of the most, I've been able to experience a lot of special things in my life and be a part of bigger successes as a team. And since Ray and I started this kind of forum together, Fresh Brewed and Air Cooled, this is by far, Stéphane, one of the highlights of my life is speaking with you, hearing these stories, doing it with my great friend Ray. And we are so lucky as a Porsche community worldwide to have you as an ambassador and someone who's really created such a special story for all of us.
But thank you, Cam. I mean, you shouldn't say that. I mean, it's really nice, but for me, it was also very, I was enthusiastic. I wanted to do it so much, but also there is people around the world like you who can also share our passion for Porsche, our passion for cars, who can explain things, who can describe things, and who can drive fast. And I hope one day soon you will put your hat and replace it with an helmet, and you will be able to drive fast again, because we are missing that so much in this very hard time of the year, hard time of our life. And I hope soon everybody will be in a better shape in the US, all over the world, and that we're gonna be able to continue and to do what we love the most. That means driving and driving fast Porsche.
Thank you for that, and thank you for being an inspiration. I think Paul and Bob Wallach would be proud of the work that you're doing, because you are sharing your knowledge, your time in the seat, and everything that you've accomplished, your experience, and how to do that with a new generation. And thank you for taking the responsibility up and for moving it forward, because it's a community and it's a family, like you said. And thank you for being a wonderful part of it. It's been a pleasure to talk with you and with my friend Cam today. So thank you so much, and certainly look forward to the ongoing conversation now that we all know each other. We look forward to seeing you at the track.
We will, and be sure that there is plenty of Porsche drivers following us, following me, who is going to continue this and contribute to this chance to continue the passion and continue the story of Porsche. And they will tell you more and more, and I'm sure it will continue like that.
We look forward to it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, on behalf of everyone at Porsche Classic, I want to say thank you. And again, Cam, to you and all my friends at RoadScholars for what you're doing to put this together and put it out there so that others can enjoy it as well. And again, thank you, Stéphane, so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
And all I can say is bonne chance, mon amis.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Be safe.